She whispered, "Will you stay if I show you my scars?" But the cowboy's answer changed everything when he discovered the men chasing her were hiding a secret far more dangerous than anyone imagined. Then, deep inside a storm-soaked canyon, they found a message waiting for them and realized they were walking straight into a trap. What happened next? Watch the full video to find out, and subscribe to our page so you don't miss the story. Before we start the story, tell me in the comments where are you listening from and what time is right now. Will you stay if I show you my scars? Iona Redbird asked the question in a voice so quiet that the wind almost carried it away. The Apache woman stood beside the window of an abandoned cabin in the Arizona desert. The last light of sunset painted the mountains gold, while a small fire burned behind her. One hand held her worn shawl tightly around her shoulders. Across the room stood Malachi Brooks, a quiet cowboy who had risked everything to protect her. For several moments he said nothing. Iona lowered her eyes. "Men always say they will stay," she whispered, "until they see what happened to you." Malachi looked toward the fire. "You don't have to show me anything." "That isn't what I asked." He turned back toward her. Iona was in her late 20s. She looked tired, but there was still strength in her face. A small silver bead hung from a leather cord around her neck. Whenever she became nervous, her fingers touched it. "Malachi," she asked. "Yes?" "If you see them, you may not look at me the same way." He took a slow breath. "Maybe," he answered honestly, "but I won't know until I see them." The answer surprised her. Iona slowly loosened her shawl. Malachi did not move closer. He did not stare. Old scars appeared on her shoulder and upper arm. They were pale marks left by a painful past she had carried for years. Iona watched his face carefully, waiting for disgust or pity. Nothing changed. Malachi simply picked up a tin cup, poured warm water into it, and handed it to her. "You must be tired," he said. Iona pulled the shawl back around herself. "You are not curious?" "I am," he paused. "But being curious doesn't mean I'm entitled to your story." For the first time, something softened in Iona's eyes. It was not complete trust, but it was the beginning. Hours earlier, Malachi had been riding north along an old cattle trail when he noticed another set of horse tracks following his own. He followed them for nearly 2 miles. Near a dry creek bed, he found Iona trying to reach the mountains before darkness. When he asked if she needed help, she looked at him with fear. "Keep riding," she warned. "They are looking for me." "Who?" She pointed toward the horizon. 3 riders were coming through the dust. "Men who believe I know something they want." Malachi could have ridden away. Instead, he handed her his spare canteen. "There is an old cabin 6 miles west. You can rest there." Iona stared at him. "Why would you help me?" "Because you asked." That simple answer stayed in her mind. Now, inside the cabin, Iona finally told him more. "They think I killed someone." "I believe you." She frowned. "You don't even know me." Malachi looked at her calmly. "Neither do they." Iona touched the silver bead around her neck. "There is something else." She reached into a small leather pouch and pulled out a dull silver button. A star was stamped into its surface. Malachi's expression changed. "I have seen that mark before." "Where?" on one of the men following you." Iona closed her hand around the button. "Then you understand why they cannot find me." Before Malachi could answer, a distant horse moved somewhere beyond the ridge. They both went silent. The men were getting closer. The next morning, Malachi and Iona discovered that the danger was bigger than they had imagined. The men were led by Pike, a ruthless trader who had stolen sacred objects belonging to Iona's people. He planned to sell them to wealthy buyers who collected things they did not understand. Pike had also spread lies about Iona, making people believe she was responsible for a death. Iona knew the truth, and Pike wanted her silent. Malachi knew that helping her meant putting his own life at risk. Still, he stayed. Soon they were joined by Dakota, Iona's father and a respected Apache leader, along with his scouts. They followed Pike's trail through a canyon after a heavy storm. But Pike was clever. He left false tracks to make them follow the wrong path. Malachi studied the wet ground carefully. "These tracks are too easy," he said. Iona crouched beside him. "Then he wants us to follow them." She noticed broken branches farther west. "They are leading somewhere." Dakota studied the trail. They realized Pike wanted to divide them. Instead of following his plan, they changed direction and moved toward the old trading road. Nearly 50 Apache riders moved quietly through the rain. Soon they found a piece of blue cloth hanging from a thorn bush. Iona recognized it. "That was torn from my clothing." Beneath it was a leather strip tied around the branch. Malachi frowned. "A warning," he said. "Or an invitation," Dakota replied. Far below, a thin column of smoke rose from an empty camp. Pike wanted them to think they had found him. But Malachi noticed something strange. There were no horses, no people, only smoke. "He is buying time," Malachi said. Then a scout brought them a message. It contained one sentence: "Come to Willow Pass before moonrise, or the sacred objects will never return." Malachi read it twice. Pike had chosen the ground, but he had made one mistake. He believed fear would control everyone. By sunset, Malachi, Dakota, Iona, and their riders reached Willow Pass. Pike was waiting beside a small fire with 7 men. Several leather bundles lay beneath a canvas sheet. Pike smiled. "Brooks, you always did have a talent for appearing where nobody wants you." Malachi stopped several yards away. "And you always mistake patience for weakness." Pike turned toward Dakota. "You want those bundles. I want safe passage." Dakota's voice was firm. "You stole what belongs to my people." "I borrowed it." Iona stepped forward. "They are not yours to borrow." Pike smiled coldly. "A little pressure makes people reasonable." He threatened to burn the bundles, but Malachi watched the fire carefully. The smoke was too thin. Wet leather and green branches were producing it. He understood. Pike was never going to burn the objects. "You are not going to destroy them," Malachi said. For a moment, Pike's smile disappeared. That was all Malachi needed. Pike wanted money. He wanted buyers. He wanted to escape. But the sacred objects had value only if they remained intact. Malachi looked toward the eastern road. "You have nowhere to go." Pike's eyes narrowed. "What road?" "The trading road." Malachi explained that the storm had destroyed the bridge nearly 12 miles away. The eastern route was closed. Pike's northern escape would take him through open ground. The canyon behind him was already watched. For the first time, fear appeared in Pike's eyes. Then the sound of many horses filled the valley. Apache scouts returned from the eastern road. "The bridge is gone," one scout told Dakota. Pike looked around. Every escape route was disappearing. "You planned this," he said. Malachi shook his head. "No, we simply stopped making your choices for you." Iona stepped toward the bundles. "You took something that cannot be bought." Dakota slowly removed the canvas. One by one, he checked the sacred objects. They were dusty and damp, but they were safe. Then Iona saw a small carved pendant. Her breath caught. "My grandmother carried this." She held it carefully in both hands. Years ago, it had disappeared with other sacred objects. She had believed it was gone forever. Now it was home. Pike lowered his head. "Take them. Just let me leave." Dakota looked at him. "You will answer for what you took." Pike surrendered. There was no revenge, no unnecessary violence, only justice. The stolen objects would return to their rightful keepers, and Pike would face the authorities with the evidence against him. The next morning, the storm clouds were gone. Iona held the pendant while Malachi prepared to leave. "You are going home?" she asked. "That was the plan." She looked toward Dakota. "My father wants you to come with us for one night." Malachi smiled. "Is that an invitation or an order?" Iona smiled back. "An invitation. He is still learning the difference." Malachi accepted. They rode with the Apache group through land washed clean by the rain. That evening, Iona told Malachi about the pendant. Her grandmother had carried it during hard winters. It was more than an object. It was a piece of family memory. Later, Iona took Malachi to a quiet hill. An old wooden marker stood there. A circle was carved into it, divided down the middle. "It means two paths meeting," she explained, "without either one disappearing." Malachi looked across the valley. "What happens to Pike?" "He will answer to the authorities," Iona said. "My father has the stolen objects, the messages, and the names of the buyers." Malachi nodded. "And your people?" Iona looked toward the camp. "We will rebuild trust slowly." She paused. "You may return home tomorrow." Malachi smiled. "I was planning to." "I know." She looked at him warmly. "But you will not return as the same man who entered the canyon." Malachi looked down at his rough hands. "Neither will you." Iona placed the carved pendant in his palm. He immediately tried to give it back. "This belongs with your people." "It does," she said. Then she closed his fingers around it. "But you helped bring it home." The next morning, Malachi rode north. At the top of a ridge, he looked back. Iona stood beside Dakota. She raised one hand. Malachi raised his in return. Then he rode home. His ranch looked exactly as he had left it. The old barn, the broken fence, the empty water trough. But Malachi felt different. For years he had believed being alone meant being safe. That evening he repaired his gate and left the front door open. It was a small change, but it meant everything. 5 days later, he found fresh horse tracks near the creek. Under a cottonwood tree was a small leather bundle with his name written on it. Inside was the blue cloth from the river and a letter from Iona. She told him that Pike had been taken by the authorities and that the stolen objects had been returned. Then she wrote, "The road between our people is still long, but long roads are worth traveling when both sides walk honestly." Beneath the words was the same divided circle. There was also a small piece of polished turquoise. Malachi smiled. That afternoon he heard horses approaching. Dakota came first. Iona followed. Behind them were many riders carrying flour, seed, tools, and timber. Malachi looked at the supplies. "What is all this?" Dakota looked toward the open ranch gate. "For a neighbor." The words touched Malachi more deeply than he expected. Iona smiled. The horses moved quietly in the evening grass. The wind passed through the cottonwood trees. No weapon was raised. No law had to be written. Nothing had to be proven. A man who once believed solitude was safety had opened his gate. A people who had every reason to distrust outsiders had chosen trust. And a small, carved pendant had become a reminder that dignity, courage, and kindness could cross even the longest distance if someone was willing to take the first quiet step. Thank you so much for watching this story all the way till the end. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. It really helps us a lot. If you want to watch more exciting stories like this, don't forget to subscribe our page right now. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is right now? And if this story touched your heart, please send some stars. Every single star gives us huge motivation to keep creating more amazing videos for you. See you in the next story. Take care of your friends.